I started gold way back in the first act of Valorant rank and used to struggle a ton with consistency. Well, I still do, but I've gotten a lot better over time. Since then, I've played Valorant ranked for over 3,000 hours, reached a peak rank of Immortal 3, 582 RR, and I guess you could say I've learned a few things along the way. Most of you guys know me as Zapper the Yapper, and today I cooked up 10 timing tips. If you are still gold like I used to be, listen up because I'm gonna help you rank up right now in the next 10 minutes. Number 1. What's that? You hear the enemy Clove full spraying their Vandal? Hurry, peek them! As you already know, guns in Valorant have some pretty serious recoil. So if you ever hear the enemy spraying their gun, it gives you a good timing to peek. It doesn't matter what the weapon is, if they're spamming it too fast, they will have to wait for the recoil to reset before shooting accurately again. It's during this time that you want to take the fight, that way, even if they aim at your head, you still have the advantage. Number 2. You have all heard how horrendous baiting your team is, right? Yup, it is bad. But I do it all the time. You just have to do it correctly, using timings. Let's say the enemy team is 5-man rushing A site on Ascent, and you're playing Cat. You could definitely run over super quick and get on site to hold with your team. However, you risk getting Sova darted, Phoenix flashed, and honestly just spammed with all the utility in the world. Instead, I like to play close, inside the smoke, by the door you can close. Then, I simply wait for my team to make contact and peek out shortly after. Once they see your team on site, they will feel a lot of pressure and often will pre-aim to try and trade that guy out. Little do they know, you're about to peek out of the smoke behind them for an easy multi-kill. Number 3. I know what you're thinking, but Zapper, how can I use these epic tips if the enemy is always hitting the site that I'm not at? And to that, I say you can't. But I mean, if you had better timings, maybe you could be there for the site take. Something I like to do a lot to increase my impact during ranked matches is to play towards the middle of the map on defense. Maybe I'll use some utility, take a little jiggle or jump peek to try and spot out enemies, but if I don't hear or see anything in the first couple of seconds, I will instantly rotate to the other site. The risk here is lurkers, but let's be honest, most of the time in ranked, people be pushing every round. You can also wait for your team to spot the enemy on the minimap and then rotate, but I find this strategy to be less consistent because it takes longer to rotate in, especially if your team is playing backside at round start. Only thing I'll say here is if you're playing against people who have been ratty and lurking frequently, make sure you have a site anchor so you don't just all rotate and give up site for free. This could be you or your team, it doesn't really matter, just try and communicate it with them nicely. Number 4. Do you struggle trading your team out? Don't worry, I got you. There are 2 main ways to correctly trade your team, and they both require an understanding of timings. For the first one, you should be playing just a couple of steps behind your teammate. Then, as they peek each angle, you follow suit a half of a second afterwards. This allows you to take each duel in essentially a 2v1. When doing this, just avoid lining up so the enemy doesn't get a free collateral kill. The second trading method actually relates back to something I've already covered in this video. So let's play a little quiz. How do you correctly trade your team? Is it A, peek after they die? B, peek while the enemy is firing their weapon? Or C, fall back and play an off angle waiting for the enemy push? Correct! It's C, fall back and play an off angle. Wait, no you baiter, it's B. Simply peek while the enemy's firing their weapon, and they won't have accurate bullets to shoot at you. Thanks for tuning in to the Yapper Show. Next week, we got even shittier questions, so don't miss it. Number 5, want free picks while the enemy's rushing site? This one's easy. Simply position yourself next to a long corridor. Something like A short on bind would do the trick. I like to play on the U-Haul side for this example. When the enemy is holding W, they are a super easy target because they have no horizontal move speed. You can take advantage of this during a rush because when in a long hallway, the enemies have to hold W to take space. The trick for perfect timing here is to simply listen. If you hear the enemies stomping around getting closer to you, that's your opportunity to take a close peek from the far back wall and take the free kills while their movement is trash. The cleaner your peek is here, the easier it will be to fall back afterwards and survive for another fight later. Number 6. Another cool sound cue to look out for is the bomb plant. When planting the bomb, the enemy will have no way to shoot you back, leaving them as a sitting duck. So if you peek the enemy at any point during the plant, you will net yourself a free kill. If you retake site with your team during this time, you can really clean up shop. Number 7. Okay, I'm sure some of you guys saw the problem with the last tip. Enemies often fake the plant because it puts them in an exposed position. That's okay though, because we don't even have to peek at the initial planting noise. Instead, try this. Wait for the second noise cue, the one where the spike is officially planted, then peek out. There is a timing window here where the enemy will still be pulling their gun back out after planting the spike. During this time, they quite literally can't shoot back, giving you a pretty nice advantage. It's best to use this strategy if it's late into the round, where both teams are already down a few players, and then oftentimes this can get you a pick and turn the round around into your favor. Number 8. Want to know the simple trick to pulling off insane lurks? Walk up and take space slowly as you normally would. But before taking any serious space, like walking onto site for example, wait for noise. If you have shown zero presence on this side of the map, then usually when the enemy starts rotating out, they will be loud as frick, stomping all around. Depending on where they are in relation to you, you can either get a free pick while their knives are out, back turned, or simply walk forward and get crazy space, pretty much controlling the entire site by yourself.
Heaven.
Nice shot, Sky. Good shit.
Just make sure you communicate with your team the entire time so they don't get mad at you about playing across the map while they try hitting a site, for example. I'd usually say something like this. Okay guys, make noise A, I'ma lurk up B. Number 9. Another super easy one based purely around noise is this. When the enemy is reloading, they can't shoot you. So this gives you a super easy timing, and it also has an auditory cue that allows you to peek and get free kills. They could fake reload, but that's honestly super rare. Even if they have their team with them during the reload, that's one less person you don't have to worry about. And thus, it's still a great timing to make a play.
Nice.
Number 10. And last but definitely not least, if the enemy team has already taken site control, please wait for your team to be ready before running in. If you retake with your team while the util is flying out and you all peek together, that site take is going to be 100 times easier. Not to mention, if you run out before your team is ready, the chances of you getting a kill go down close to 0. You will probably die, and then your team has to retake with one less body. So just wait the extra 2 seconds, it makes the world of a difference, trust me. If you guys liked the video, definitely check out some of my other tip guides, where I cover tons of different tips on different topics of the game in order to help you guys learn a little bit. So yeah, bye bye.